for a single night with an impoverished virgin named Masseur, a billionaire CEO promised $1 million. However, she was astounded to learn that UAI actually was. Prior to delving into tell us about your story in the comments. From where are you watching? Everyone, have fun with the narrative. Keo Alice Parker of the Parker Group. She used to enter boardrooms and shake hands to seal million-dollar transactions. However, today, all she wanted was to vanish for a few hours just. She adjusted her shades. "Take me somewhere no one knows me, or I swear I'll lose it in the middle of this," he muttered, opening the car door. There's a modest small spa in the ancient area of town. Nothing extravagant, however. I've heard that they have a unique masseur. Discreet? Absolutely. No pictures. Alice simply nodded. No social media. No onlookers. After 20 minutes, the vehicle paused in front of a dilapidated structure. Nothing ostentatious, just a little wooden sign with a lotus blossom painted by hand. Eastern medicine. Alice looked around the room as she entered. No phony background music, no thick incense, simply calm and a gentle lavender aroma. "Good afternoon," the receptionist remarked, smiling calmly. "Entire session? Or just Lucas is available? He's our most valuable member, full body, and I want your best." Asked. Alice did not respond. She loosened her shoes, kicked off her heels, and proceeded stealthily to a modest, comfortable room. "Put on your blazer and recline on the massage table." The door opened. "Hello, this is Lucas. If everything is prepared, we can start." Alice cocked her head a little. He had short black hair, was young, fit, and had a serene face. He didn't appear awed, intrigued, or even curious. She stated, "I'm in a hurry. Just do." Lucas nodded, cleaned his hands, and started the session. He had a polished, accurate touch, yet alert, as though he could sense every tense moment beneath her skin. Alice shuddered as he got to her calves. Not from suffering. Astonishment. Perhaps it was the first time someone touched her without anticipating anything in return. How long have you been doing this?" she said, almost inadvertently. "Enough time to recognize when a body needs." With his eyes fixed on his job, he answered, "Silence." Alice smiled slightly on the side. "And mine? Does it require quiet? Yours is yelling." She gave a little nasal chuckle. "Do you speak that way with your clients all the time?" "Only when they ask." Second, she wanted to inquire further, but she refrained for the time being. An hour later, Alice. She dressed and made her way to the front desk, where she glanced at the receptionist and inquired nearly, "That Lucas? Is he married?" Said casually. "No, actually, they say he's never been," the receptionist said, with a startled laugh. "With anybody. He's still a virgin, according to some." Alice arched an eyebrow. "Really? With such hands?" "Yes. He's never agreed to any offer. He keeps things to himself." "That's intriguing." Alice pivoted and left. She leaned her head on the window and crossed her legs in the car. "Virgin," she thought. "It's interesting. Even more unexpected. She was thinking about him all the time. Before the spy even opened the following day, Alice was there already. This time, the energy was different. Something in the middle of curiosity and challenge. I have the same desire. Lucas, the person from yesterday. "No substitutes," she firmly informed the receptionist. After a few minutes, she was back on waiting at the table. Lucas welcomed her as simply as he had before he came in. "Miss Parker." "Alice," she said, her eyes still shut. "Today, let's forego the formalities." He simply began without responding. As the day before, she was working on her shoulders. After waiting for a while, she broke the silence. "You understand, last night, you were on my mind." "I hope it didn't keep you up," he said coolly. "No, but my appetite was gone." She grinned. "You seem odd and aloof, as if you're not attempting to win over anyone, including myself. I don't have to impress anyone. It's to assist. What if someone is looking for more than assistance?" Lucas hesitated a moment, then went on. "I typically keep limits, even if the individual is fascinating." He didn't respond. "Come on, let's go, Lucas. Go out tonight. Dinner or nothing formal. You and I will spend a little time outside." "No," he stated bluntly. No hesitation. No sugarcoating. Alice blinked. That was not what she had anticipated. "You're declining my invitation." "Indeed. Why?" "Since I have no interest in it." She looked at him, challenging, while sitting halfway up on the table. "Everybody has a cost, Lucas." Calm and unfazed, he met her gaze. "Not me." Alice extended her hand to pull an envelope out of his blazer pocket, opened it slowly, and held it out. $1 million for a single evening. Only this evening. A lodging. Complete seclusion. No messages, no contact, no follow-up. Lucas didn't even make contact with the envelope. He only glanced at it. "Lucas, accept it. It's only one evening. There are no conditions, just a want." She then placed the envelope into his uniform pocket. "You don't need to respond right now. Just give it some thought." Lucas removed his hands from her. He glanced at Alice, then back to the pocket. "I've already considered it." And he softly, "It's still no." Alice narrowed her eyes as he removed the letter from his pocket and set it on the table next to him. Her gaze. Something was present, a silent power she was unable to identify. "It is $1 million that you are refusing. I'm refusing to sell myself. You're courageous. No, I simply don't wish to feel as though I accomplished something for money when I wake up tomorrow." She reclined and gazed up at the ceiling. Regarding the... She was at a loss for words for the first time in years, and it was intriguing. Lucas returned to the massage. They didn't say anything more. But something had changed in that quiet, that Alice didn't sleep that night. Thinking about that firm, unequivocal love, she tossed and turned. Nobody, not a single person, had declined whatever she had offered in the previous 10 years. Particularly, not $1 million. Around 7 in the morning, she was in the car already. Startled, the driver said, "Lotus Blossom Spa again, ma'am?" "Yes, and step on it." She came prior to the spa's opening and waited outside while pounding her fingers on the car wheel. When the Alice was at the door when the receptionist arrived, "I have to talk to Lucas immediately, because he won't arrive till I'll wait until 9 o'clock, Mrs. Parker," she said, and she did so for 2 hours. When Lucas eventually, Alice leaped like a spring from the reception chair as soon as she entered. "You," pointing to him, she said. "I require an explanation." Lucas paused, gave her a quick glance, and said, "Good morning to you too." "I'm not kidding, Lucas." "Neither am I." He approached the front desk. "Marisa, this is my first." The receptionist looked at Alice and said, "Actually, the client had arrived." Alice asked her, "She's your first client?" "Arms." The receptionist muttered, "She's not scheduled, ma'am. I don't care. I want the same room as yesterday now." "I need to speak with him." Alice took out a $500 bill and set it on the counter. "Alone." Lucas groaned. "Okay, 20 minutes." Alice wasn't lying in the room. "Why did you reject me down last night? I already told you," she asked, standing facing him on the table. "No, you said you..." We all sell ourselves, Lucas. You work here. I pay. How is that any different? I didn't want to sell myself. Lucas leaned against the wall and crossed his arms, saying, I work because I choose to, not because someone told me to. Purchased me. Alice laughed dryly and sarcastically. How romantic and innocent. Perhaps. Then tell me how much one night will cost. Really, how much? Nothing. Lucas, everyone has a price. Mine is not for sale. Alice approached him carefully until she was within inches of him. 2 million? No. 5? No. 10 million? Lucas. 10 million? Lucas met her gaze. Alice, do you really think that I changed my mind only to get more money? Everyone does, but I don't. Emery's right. Are you making fun of me? No, I'm being angry. She clenched her fists. You work in a landfill, she said, taking a step back and raising her voice. Lucas, you're being dishonest and foolish by declining $10 million while making peanuts an hour. Didn't respond. He simply gazed at her, and Alice became agitated. You know what? You're correct. I was giving you something you don't really deserve. Men who are like you, small, unambitious, and constrained, don't recognize a good opportunity when it hits them in the face. She rushed to the door, then paused and turned around. Lucas waited for her to finish, saying, You'll regret this, Lucas. You'll live your entire life wondering what it would have been like to really know me. Then, serene as ever, he continued, What, Alice? Are you scared? She laughed sharply, terrified. Of what? Of someone who isn't impressed by Alice opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Your money. The word struck like a punch. Lucas said, And do you know why that scares you? Because you don't know who you are without the money. Alice froze. For a moment, it seemed as though he had read every insecurity concealed behind her, seeing right through her. You, she started. Expensive suits and influential meetings. Then her voice broke. Alice, you can be angry with me, swear at me, make fun of me, and even try to fire me, but it won't make a difference. Alice's face burned. You don't know how to handle someone telling you no. She whirled around her, heels, and slammed the door behind her as she rushed out. Everyone in the lobby, including several customers, turned to stare at her. She stormed past them, pushed open the glass door and said, Start the car now. Right inside the automobile, she was gasping for air, angry, ashamed, and intrigued. Who does he really believe that he is? She pondered. One of the spa staff members shared a little video on Instagram during lunch, tales that are only a few seconds lengthy. Alice, obviously agitated, stormed out of the room. Within 2 hours, 15 people had shared the video with the description, When the Masseur turns down the rich lady's offer. Times, it was on TikTok in 6. Ultimately, Masseur, who declined to the CEO, was popular in the city. Alice didn't know till her apprehensive assistant called. Dear Mrs. Parker, have you used social media lately? Why? A video of you visiting the spa is available. Alice, after hanging up, I opened Instagram. 50,000 people had already watched the video. The remarks were vicious. It appears that the wealthy woman received what she was due. Did she actually make him a financial offer? A twist in the plot. The man has honesty. She's undoubtedly accustomed to purchasing people. Alice dropped her cell phone upon the couch and put her hands over her face. She was now a joke on the internet for the first time in her life, all due to a massage therapist who had the courage to refuse. The following morning, she discovered 15 missed calls. Still within her, she ran her laptop in her nightgown. There was the spa video everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, even the news website of the city. The most shocking headline. Poor people embarrass a millionaire CEO. Yes, sure. The remarks were equally scathing. Someone finally restrained that haughtiness. She's probably never heard a no. Earlier, to refuse easy money, that man must have strong morals. Was it true that she gave him $1 million? Alice banged the laptop closed. She reached for her phone and dialed her marketing department. I want that video removed, right now. We've already attempted, Mrs. Parker, but since it was shared by a private, we cannot create something up and then claim copyright as individuals. It is ineffective, in that manner. In fact, it receives greater attention the more we attempt to eradicate it. The best course of action is to let it go organically. Angrily, Alice hung up. She detested losing control more than anything else. She contacted her helper, Julia. Everything about Lucas Huang is what I want. Everything. Complete name, home address, and family employment history. Debts and connections. I'm curious about the toothpaste brand he uses. Mrs., I'm working on it. Parker, and employ the city's top private investigator. How much it costs doesn't matter to me. After 2 hours, Alice was in her workspace when Julia entered carrying a small folder. All we could find on Lucas Huang was this. Alice pulled it open. Swiftly. Only 3 pages. That's all. Mrs. Parker, it's peculiar. He hardly exists on the internet. No LinkedIn, no Instagram, no Facebook. Only the investigator discovered the fundamentals. For the past 2 years, he has been employed at the spa. Rents a modest apartment in the heart of town. Never got married. No criminal history. Frustrated, Alice turned the pages. How is his family doing? There are no close family members in the nation. Although he was born here, his last name, Huang, is Chinese. Learning. Completed high school at a public institution. Then, there's a 3-year lapse. He returns to work as a massage therapist. Clinics. The folder was slapped upon the desk by Alice. This is not logical. Nobody is alive, having no digital footprint. The investigator made the same statement, as if he either deleted his own history or had it done for him. In the afternoon, Alice was unable to pay attention to any meetings. One of the investors in Hong Kong made a joke during a video call. Alice, I noticed you became internet famous. Background laughter. Without responding, she switched off the webcam. By 5 o'clock, she was unable to take it no longer. She immediately drove to the spa after grabbing her keys. Lucas was... When she got there, she had a client. Ignoring the staff's interested looks, Alice waited in the lobby. When he was done and left, he noticed her. Alice replied, "You've got some nerves showing up here," as she stood. "This is where I work." For now. Lucas remained silent. He proceeded to the main desk and discussed the next appointment with Marissa. "I'm speaking to you," Alice spoke out. Everybody in the lobby looked around. Lucas turned around with a sigh. "Alice, what do you want? I'm curious about your true identity." "I'm a therapist for massages." Untruthful. She moved in closer, her voice forceful but quiet. "No one is merely a local massage therapist who behaves, speaks, or looks like you. Perhaps your biases are coming through. This isn't bias. Experience is what it is. I have negotiated with millionaires, presidents, and CEOs. When I see power, I know it. Lucas, you have power. I simply have no idea where it originates." Lucas gazed at her for a considerable amount of time. "Moreover, what if my appearance is accurate? A normal guy who isn't interested in selling out?" "I don't think so." "Then that's your issue, not mine." Alice's fists clenched. "I was publicly humiliated by you. I just responded to your query. I made a comedy out of your response. You became a joke because of what you did. I just seen it." The she became even more enraged by the coldness in his speech. "Lucas, you're going to regret this. Your secrets will be revealed to me, and I'll use them against you when I do. Discover what? That my work is sincere? That I make timely bill payments? That I show respect to others? Nobody is flawless. I'm not flawless. I'm only not the person you like me to be." Alice faced the front desk agent. "Marika, correct? How much does he get paid here?" "That's truly not my intention, Mrs. Parker. If you fire him now, I'll double his pay." The front desk went quiet. Lucas watched with his arms crossed. "Alice," he said, calmly. "Really, do you think that will work? I'll make it 3 times. Alice ignored him and continued. 3 times his pay. You would still have money after hiring 2 successors. Marissa glanced anxiously between Alice and Lucas. "I can't decide that on my own, Mrs. Parker. I need to talk to the owner, and then give her a call. Next, give the proprietor. He's on the road. It doesn't matter to me. Now, give him a call." With reluctance, Marissa took up the phone. She waited while she dialed. "Sorry to trouble you, Mr. Chen. We are in a predicament," she clarified. For a moment, a few pauses indicated that they were paying attention to the directions. She hung up after that. Alice, though, inquired assured. Marissa gave Lucas a clumsy glance as he spoke. "If you wish to fire Lucas, you'll need to purchase the entire spa." Alice blinked. "By what do you mean?" "According to Mr. Chen, Lucas is the most asked a professional. He is the reason half of the customers come here. Lucas's firing would be equivalent to shutting down the company." Alice's grin gradually dimmed. "What is the cost of the spa?" "Parker, Mrs. "How a lot?" Marissa took a deep breath. "It's not for sale." Alice remained motionless for a pondering for a bit, before turning to Lucas. "Did you not plan this? You intentionally made yourself indispensable. Or perhaps I'm simply skilled at what I do." Just then, a man in a suit came into the lobby. Broad-shouldered, tall, and looked similar to a security guard. "Yes, I'm Eduardo from your corporate security, Mrs. Parker. Team, it's urgent. I need to talk to you." Alice shot Lucas a final glance. "This isn't over. It never was," he said. Calmly replied. Eduardo led Alice out into the parking lot. "What's so urgent?" Eduardo took a picture out of his pocket. The photo was old and a little faded. It featured Lucas standing by an elderly man in front of a commercial building, wearing a pricey suit. "Where did you understand? One of our law enforcement contacts. While researching some background information, he came across this in an archived document." Alice examined the picture more closely. This was taken when? 3 years long ago. Mrs. Parker Eduardo, however, paused. "This man is not who you believe him to be." Alice grabbed the picture out of Eduardo's grasp. "Describe this." Now, the picture appeared from a 3-year-old archival probe. Laundering of money using sham corporations. Lucas made an appearance as a witness before vanishing from the documents. What was he a witness to? I was unable to obtain the specifics. "The Mrs. Parker, the case is classified." Eduardo spoke more softly. "Jean Wei Chen is the man in the picture next to him." Alice scowled. There should be some significance to that name. Half of the town's Chinese eateries are owned by Chen. Additionally, Lucas works at a spa owned by Eduardo, who pauses. Alice's blood froze. "Are you saying that?" "That Lucas's presence isn't accidental. Chen keeps him safe. That's why we were unable to locate any information. The spa isn't for sale because of this. Lucas behaves as like he is untouchable because of this." Alice examined the picture. Once more. Lucas appeared to have known Chen for years as he smiled and relaxed. I would like to speak with Chen face to face. Dear Mrs. Parker, things might be harmful. It doesn't matter to me. Call a meeting. Julia called Alice when she woke up the following morning. Mrs., we have some news regarding Lucas Huang, Parker. Have you discovered anything? In fact, he discovered something about ourselves. Alice took a seat in bed. By what do you mean? A letter came at the office addressed to you from the law firm. From Silva and Associates. Never heard of them. It's a small firm, but they specialize in labor law. The letter's about defamation and harassment. Alice leaped to her feet. By what do you mean? Lucas is claiming you tried to coerce his employer, offered a bribe to have him dismissed, and are ruining his professional reputation. He has witnesses. What witnesses? Everyone who was in the lobby yesterday, including 2 patrons who videotaped it on their phones. Alice held the phone hard. This is absurd. I can hire the greatest lawyers in the country. You can, absolutely. But Mrs. Parker, the issue isn't the lawyers. It's public opinion. If this goes to court, it'll end up in the headlines. Moreover, seeing that popular video yesterday, Alice hung up the phone and pounded her pillow. How did a basic massage therapist manage to flip the tables like this? 2 hours later, she was in her office when Julia walked in looking worried. Mrs. Parker Chen returned our phone, and he agreed to meet this afternoon at his eatery. But there's one condition. What is it? Lucas has to be there. Alice smiled for the first time in days. Perfect. I want to look him in the eye when he finds out I know the connection. That afternoon, Alice came to the Golden Dragon, Chen's most beautiful restaurant in the posh section of the city. With the exception of a few servers and an elderly guy seated at a table near the rear, the establishment was deserted. With people that only read the comments, let's play about a bit. In the comments, type pizza. Only those who succeeded thus far will comprehend. Let's get back to the narrative. Despite being shorter than he appeared in pictures, John Wei Chen had gifts. Hands carefully placed on the table, narrow glasses, graying hair. He said, Mrs. Parker, to her in English with an accent. Alice said, Mr. Chen, in Portuguese. Thank you for seeing me. Please have a seat, Lucas replied. We'll arrive shortly. Lucas came in the side door as if on cue. He was dressed in jeans and a simple dress shirt, but seemed different in some way, more assured. Without saying hello to Alice, he took a seat beside Chen. Thus, Chen spoke. Alice smiled and said bluntly, Looks like you two have things to clear up. I am aware of your relationship. Notice the picture. I am aware that Lucas is more than just one of your employees. Chen's eyebrows went up. What photo? Alice asked, took the picture out of her pocket and set it down on the table. Chen gave it a look and laughed heartily. That one, huh? He examined at Lucas. Can you recall this image? Lucas gave a nod. You saved me on that day, of course. Alice blinked. Preserved you. Chen reclined in his seat. Could you tell me what you believe occurred 3 years ago, Mrs. Parker? Something shady deal, laundering of money, corruption. Lucas and Chen looked at each other. Next, Chen began to laugh once more. That picture was taken the day I made Lucas a job offer, Mrs. Parker. He was without a place to live, had been spending 2 weeks sleeping on the streets. Alice sensed a change in the earth beneath her feet. By what do you mean? Lucas arrived. One evening, I asked for a glass of water at my restaurant. He was obviously in poor condition, thin and filthy. However, there was something dignified and polite about him. I offered to feed him. In exchange, he demanded to wash the dishes. Alice gave Lucas a perplexed look. What about the police inquiry? That Chen waved a hand. Lucas provided the police with important information after witnessing a robbery on the street. Because he lacked identification, he needed to be photographed at the time for the witness file. No identification? It was Lucas who spoke first. I had lost everything: my identity, money, and documents. Chen assisted me in starting over. Alice was taken aback. However, you act like you have education and power. Lucas calmly replied, I do have an education. I simply lack funds. Then, where did you get your education? Lucas paused. Chen put his hand over his shoulder. Son, go ahead. In any case, she already knows a portion of the tale. Lucas let out a sigh. I came from a wealthy family. Family, Alice. Incredibly wealthy. However, something happened to me when I was 23. Something that caused me to leave everything behind and vanish. What was it? That is private. Alice bent over the table. You come from a wealthy family, then? Yes, I was. I'm just Lucas, the massage now. Chen, a therapist, was saved from homelessness. For the three of them, Chen poured tea. I have a question for you, Mrs. Parker. Of course. Why do you find Lucas so appealing? Alice parted her lips, but nothing came out. For the first time, she was at a loss for words. He put me to the test. Nobody ever refused anything. You? That's right. Chen understood and nodded. You find that bothersome, because Alice hesitated. The response was there, but it was difficult to express aloud. Perhaps I'm not accustomed to people who don't want anything from me. At the table, silence. Goodbye, Mrs. Parker, Chen said. Could I offer you some guidance? I'm paying attention. Lucas is not a difficult opponent to overcome. He is someone who should be understood. And having empathy for others requires humility, patience, and respect. Alice gave Lucas a look. Instead of viewing her with rage or condemnation, he was just interest. Is there really nothing you want from me? She asked directly. Not in the manner that you have been providing it. What would be the proper approach? Lucas paused to reflect. Sincerity. I have been truthful. Have you? Lucas leaned a little closer. Or have you simply been attempting to purchase something that isn't available? Alice became silent. Chen got to his feet. I'll let you two have a conversation. I have to see how the kitchen is doing. When they were at last by themselves. So, Lucas, what happened 3 years ago? What made you leave a life of wealth? Does it matter? It does, Alice inquired. To me. Why? Alice paused. Her voice trailed off. Perhaps I was. Lucas looked at her for a long time before saying, Maybe I'd like to really get to know who you are. Why should I trust you now, Alice, when you tried to humiliate me, get me fired, and look into my past for 2 days? Lucas smiled for the first time, but it wasn't a sarcastic or demanding one, because I'm asking, not offering, not demanding, just asking. A guarded, sincere smile is a good place to start. Will you tell me? Perhaps when Alice got up and said, You show me that you genuinely want to know who I am, not who I used to be. Drop the lawsuit for defamation. Your attorneys are most likely already getting ready to attack me. Alice blinked. How did you? Because Alice, I know people like you. When they don't get what they want, they all react the same way. Alice stared at him for. After a lengthy pause, she picked up her phone and called. Julia, stop pursuing legal action against Lucas Wong right away and... She hung up and turned to face Lucas, saying, Done. Thank you. Drop the investigation too. Will you tell me now? Lucas grinned once more. You've earned the right to ask again later. Alice exclaimed, You're impossible. I'm careful, Chen brought a tray of desserts back to the table. Sigh, but she was smiling too. Alice said, "We were making progress. Did you two work things out?" "Good. So, may I invite you to dinner?" Lucas always joins us for dinner on Sundays, so Alice looked at Lucas. "You can come, but you'll have to use chopsticks to eat." I understand how Lucas laughed and said, "We'll see." Alice felt like she might be able to use chopsticks for the first time in 3 days. Alice spent the remainder of the day beginning to comprehend who Lucas Juan was, or at least who he had decided to become. Of the week attempting to concentrate on her work, but she couldn't shake the picture of Lucas grinning. Sunday arrived more quickly. She dressed more casually than she had anticipated, wearing a silk blouse and jeans that she hadn't worn in years. She wanted to feel normal, so she avoided wearing power suits and wore high heels. The Golden Dragon Chen greeted her warmly at the door, which was closed to the public when she arrived. "Miss Parker, exactly on Lucas is in the kitchen." "Alice, please. Thank you for the invitation. Assisting with the preparation. I hope you don't mind eating authentic home-cooked Chinese food, not the tourist-style kind. Will be novel for me." Chen guided her to a circular table in the restaurant's rear that was adorned with basic elegance, a warm setting with candles and tiny flowers. "Chen, may I ask you something?" "Obviously. Besides being nice, why did you assist Lucas? Did he have a special quality?" Chen filled 2 tiny cups with tea. "Have you ever seen someone who's—" Alice shook her head, saying, "Hungry turned down food because they couldn't pay for it." Lucas was obviously undernourished, but I was greatly impressed by his determination to work before taking any assistance. After that, then I learned that he could discuss Eastern art, knew traditional Chinese medicine, and spoke Mandarin fluently. And philosophy. He seemed to have been born in China rather than here. Alice arched an eyebrow. Perhaps he studied all of that. I didn't ask, but I could tell right away on the first day that he wasn't just a man going through a difficult moment when Lucas showed up. Wearing dark pants and a plain white shirt, he carried a tray filled with several small dishes. However, there was something about him changed. He appeared more at ease and like himself. "I hope you're—" He put the dishes on the table and said, "Hungry." Chen always produces too much. Alice eyed the food. Steamed fish, stir-fried veggies with strange spices, delicate dumplings. Lucas sat down and said, "I learned. Fragrant soup. It looks amazing. Did you both cook this?" "Chen taught me. It's customary for us to cook as a family on Sundays." Chen affirmed that Lucas is similar to a son to me. Over dinner, Alice saw a different side of Lucas. He shared amusing tales about his childhood in the kitchen. When Chen was upset, he laughed easily. He was light. Lucas, Alice said, was trying out the chopsticks. "How did you learn Mandarin?" "I attended a private school when I was younger." Lucas grinned and said, "Thank you, is shishi." He saw the hesitation but didn't press. "Would you teach me a few words?" Dabuchchi, Alice repeated, attempting to mimic the tone. "Sorry, is dui." Am I saying it correctly? Almost. The tone is a little off. Lucas leaned in to ask, "May I?" She nodded, and he held her chin tenderly. Repositioning. Try again. "Do we boop tea? Do we boop tea?" Alice asked again, more precisely this time. Perfect. After a brief exchange of glances, Chen quietly stood up and said, "I'll get dessert." When they were by themselves, Alice questioned, "Lucas, why do you speak Mandarin so well? And don't give that to me. I went to school to study. Your accent is ideal." "Native. My mother was Chinese," and Lucas sighed. "Did she pass away when I was 15? I apologize. She taught me the cuisine, the language, and the culture. According to her, it's critical to maintain contact, to our origins. Alice saw that he was sad. And your dad? He passed away. Later on as well. Did you lose everything at that point? That's part of the story. Lucas stared at her for a long time. I apologize for the wait. I had to take a break. Chen returned with dessert, fresh fruit, and small traditional sweets. Crucial call, all right? Lucas inquired. In reality, Chen paused. Alice glanced at them and asked, "What event is tomorrow?" Chen replied, "I have a business dinner." International Lucas sat up and said, "I'm trying to expand into other countries. What kind of investors? Mostly Chinese." Straighter. Lucas, I know, but I already told you that I'm not. You know our culture and speak Mandarin far more fluently than my official interpreter, Alice, just for one evening. Interpreter? You are an interpreter? Alice asked Lucas. I occasionally assist Chen with basic translations. Nothing formal, just basic. Chen chuckled. Mrs. Parker, you ought to see Lucas in a business meeting. He does more than just translate. He is aware of cultural quirks and can read between the lines. Lines. Recognizes deceit. Alice leaned forward, curious. Really? Chen is being dramatic. I'm not. Do you recall Mr. Wu from last month? You knew he was lying about the figures before I did. Numbers? Alice inquired. Lucas appeared uneasy as he inflated the ingredient costs to support a higher contract price. How did you determine that? His tone shifted when he brought up particular amounts, which is typical when someone isn't being completely truthful. Alice gazed at Lucas with increasing admiration. Where did you learn that? Experience. What kind of experience, Lucas? Before he could respond, Alice's Julia answered the phone, apologized, and said, Hello, Mrs. Parker. We apologize for disturbing you on a Sunday, but we have an urgent matter. What kind of urgent matter? Tomorrow's meeting with the Korean investors. Alice's stomach knotted as the official interpreter just canceled the flu. For a $15 million expansion, the meeting was essential. We have already tried 3 agencies and have no backup. All of the best interpreters are booked for the Korean holiday weekend. Alice glanced at Lucas, who was speaking quietly with Julia hung up, and turned to the table saying, Give me 10 minutes, and I'll take care of it. Chen, about that business. Could it possibly be at the Hyatt Regency for dinner tomorrow? Chen and Lucas exchanged shocked glances. How did you find out? I have a meeting with Korean investors there as well, and I just... Lucas straightened up after I lost my interpreter. What sort of meeting? Parker Group's entry into the Asian market 15. Chen whistled softly. That's a big meeting. Very big. And if I can't communicate. The initial investment was $1 million. Alice looked at Lucas appropriately. Do you speak Korean? Alice asked. I speak it fluently. Fairly well. Chen chuckled. Fairly. Lucas, you were translating while we watched a Korean film together last month. Jokes that the subtitles didn't catch. Alice felt hopeful. Lucas, would you think about? Lucas shook his head. Helping me? What do you mean? Be my interpreter for one night. I'll pay well, of course. You don't get it, Alice. I don't do that kind of work. If it's not about money, then what is it about? Alice, what kind of world is that? High-level meetings, corporate business? Lucas was silent for a long time before leaning across the table and asking, Why? At Chen, who nodded encouragingly, since the last time I was in a meeting like that, I lost. Alice shivered. What had happened? Lucas paused. If I consent to assist you tomorrow, you'll discover a side of me that you might not have anticipated, and it may alter your perception of me. Depending on what you're looking for in me, I'm not sure if I'm better or worse. Listen, I'm searching for the truth, Lucas. About you. About us. I thought for a moment. Chen smiled quietly. About whatever this is between us. What if I find out? You're much more than I anticipated. And what if you discover that I'm much less? Alice extended her hand across the table. There's only one way to find out. Lucas glanced at her extended hand, then at Chen, who gave a small nod. At last, he grasped her hand. Okay, I'll assist you. Thank you. However, he gently squeezed Alice's hand and said, You're going to have a lot of questions the day after tomorrow. I'll also need to determine whether I'm prepared for the answers and whether I trust you enough to respond to them. After a toast to mutual understanding, Chen lifted his teacup. Alice and Lucas. They raised their cups, echoing to each other's understanding, but Alice couldn't stop thinking as they toasted, regarding Lucas's final remarks. I lost the last time I was in a meeting like this. Everything. What precisely had transpired 3 years prior, and why did she feel as though she would soon learn the truth? More than she anticipated? Alice got to the Hyatt Regency at 7 a.m., 2 p.m. She wanted to review all the documents and prepare herself mentally in the hours leading up to the meeting, but more than anything, she wanted to speak with Lucas prior to the arrival of the investors. He was at the front desk in an unexpected dark gray suit. There was something different about the way he carried it, and it fit him perfectly, but it wasn't expensive, she said. Himself, more poised and self-assured. You appear different, Alice remarked, as she, clothes make a difference. Lucas, it's not just the clothes. It's you. It appears that she hesitated. You appear to as though you're supposed to be here. Lucas turned his head away. Should we review the meeting plan? They ascended to the room they had reserved. Alice laid out the papers on the table, but she saw Lucas was ignoring the documents. Tense, he was gazing out the window. How are you doing, Lucas? I'm all right. Simply put, I haven't been in a location like this in 3 years. What makes this location unique? It's not specifically this location. It's locations like this. Corporate meetings, opulent hotels, and people in pricey suits discussing millions of dollars. Alice studied him while perched on the edge of the table. Did you have a past life like that? It was my former existence. Would you like to discuss it? With a sigh, Lucas moved away from the window. If I tell you, Alice, it'll alter every aspect of our relationship. I will no longer be Lucas the massage therapist. I'll appear to you as someone else. Is that a bad thing too, depending on what you want from me? Alice got up and approached him. I'm searching for the reality, whatever it is. For a long time, Lucas gazed into her eyes. My entire Lucas Wong Jiang is his name. Does Jiang like Chen? My uncle is Chen, the brother of my mother. Alice blinked. Your uncle? He didn't say anything, since I asked him not to. Even though we were related, I didn't want anyone to know who I was when I arrived at the restaurant 3 years ago. Why? Lucas took a seat in a chair in the conference room. Because, Alice, I was fleeing from my life, my name, and my family. What kind of life? Jen Company. Have you heard of it? Alice sensed the blood dripping out of her countenance. One of the biggest Asian conglomerates globally was Jiang Corporation. Building, technology, imports, estimated to be worth billions of dollars. Are you a member of the Jiang family? Yes, I was. My grandfather established the business. It was extended into Latin America by my father. He hesitated. I was the heir. Alice took a seat in a chair. Will you inherit billions of dollars? That's correct. And you sacrificed everything to become a massage therapist. It didn't fit with who I am. So I gave it up. The quiet in it was deafening in the room. By what do you mean? Lucas got up and made his way back toward the window. 3 years prior, I was being ready to become Gene Corporation's new president. I was 25, had a Harvard MBA, and had worked in 3 nations. I was the ideal heir, the ideal son. What took place? I discovered the business engaged in dubious practices, expensive contracts, and bribery. I should have known about things like labor exploitation and politicians. Alice's chair leaned forward. And you went up against your family? I made an effort. I expressed my desire to switch companies, make it more moral. Lucas, my dad, stopped and inhaled deeply. According to my father, these were typical, and I was naive. Commercial procedures. After that, I made a horrible error. Lucas turned to face Alice, and she could see genuine suffering in his eyes. Daniel, my younger brother, was 2 years my junior, but significantly more aspirational. He was accepting the family's methods while I was doubting them. Now, where is he? Deceased. Alice placed a hand to her lips. In Bangkok, Lucas Daniel was in charge of a building contract, $50 million undertaking. He was aware of the high cost. He didn't care that he was lying to the Thai government. Lucas took a seat again, but he appeared smaller and more delicate. When he said, "I tried to stop him," I informed him that I would reveal the plan if he didn't terminate the agreement. We got into a fight, and he called me a coward, saying I didn't. What did you do to earn the right to inherit the family? I traveled to Bangkok in person. I wanted to speak with him and persuade him to act morally, but when I arrived, Lucas hesitated, gulping. Daniel was in the hospital when I arrived. He had been involved in a car accident while traveling to a meeting. According to the doctor, it was intentional. Suicide? Alice. My brother took his own life because he was unable to cope with the pressure from me and his family, who were questioning everything he did. Felt her eyes well up with tears. Lucas, you weren't at fault. Yes, you were. Lucas stopped breathing heavily, but only if I hadn't argued with him and threatened to expose the company. You had no idea how much pain my brother was in, so I told him last thing that he was a disgrace to the family. He was my younger brother, and it was my responsibility to defend him rather than condemn him, so I should have known. Alice got up and moved, over to him. After that, I was unable to continue living in that world. I couldn't sign contracts without considering the repercussions, and I couldn't look at my father without seeing Daniel. You fled because you couldn't inherit a fortune based on falsehoods. I only took a few private documents and vanished, leaving no cash, credit cards, or correspondence behind. I wanted the Lucas smiled bitterly. Kang family to think I was dead. And did they? 6 months later, my father formally disowned me, telling the media that I was mentally ill and no longer a member of the family. And you? You never made an attempt to return? Never. I caused Daniel's death. The business continued as usual, and without the family's money, I had no idea who I was. Alice gently Chen said, "Is that why you became a massage therapist?" as he touched his arm. I had to learn how to use my hands for healing rather than harm, and Eastern therapy showed me that occasionally touching. After a few minutes of silence, Alice asked, "Do you think someone can gently do more than $1 million deal? Do your parents know where you are?" "No, Alice, they can't know. If they will attempt to bring me back if they discover that I am alive and present. But I am unable to return to that life, even if it means never again seeing your family. Chen is now my family." Perhaps he glanced at her. Perhaps some individuals who perceive me as Lucas rather than Zhang. At that moment, Alice's. The Korean investors had arrived early and were waiting in the meeting room when the phone rang. It was Julia, Miss Parker. "Are you ready for this?" Alice asked Lucas. I don't know. It's been 3 years. Lucas got up and said, You want to back out? I can try to find another interpreter since I dealt with people like that. I'll help you, I said, adjusting his suit. Perhaps it's time for me to put my prior experience to good use. Yes, Lucas. I appreciate your faith in me and your refusal to flee when you discovered my true identity. Alice grinned. The day is still young. They both. For a brief moment, the tension subsided as they laughed. Should we? Alice asked. Let's go. However, Alice, if you notice that I've changed or appear to be a different person at any point during the meeting, don't be. I get scared and turn into my old self when I'm negotiating, which is bad. It depends on whether you'll still, Alice stopped in her tracks, saying, Lucas, love me after seeing that side of me. I blushed when I realized what he had said. I meant if you'll still respect me. No. Lucas looked into Alice's eyes and said, You said love. That's what you said. Alice moved closer to him. Why did you use that word? Because I believe that's what's happening to me. He hesitated. Alice, I'm falling in love with you. But I'm worried that once you see me in action and realize who I used to be, you'll reconsider us. Alice clutched his face with both hands. Lucas. Lucas Wong. Jen or any other name you like. Nothing I see today will stop me from falling in love with you. That. In the hotel hallway, they shared a kiss. A long, passionate kiss full of unsaid vows. When they eventually, Lucas grinned as he was pulled apart. I'm now prepared for any meeting, even if it involves individuals who may be able to identify you. Since I now know who I truly am, especially if it's with people who might recognize me. No, regardless of my past. And who is that? Alice Parker is in love with me. The remainder is simply specifics. Still sensing Lucas's kiss on her lips, Alice entered the meeting room next to him. 3 males stood reverently in dark suits as she walked in. Thank you for coming, gentlemen. Alice Parker here, the CEO of the Parker Group. Out of the 3, the oldest took the lead. I'm Kim Jung, here on behalf of the Hanwha Group, Miss Parker. Parkman Jun and Lee Donwook are my co-workers. Lucas silently replaced him. Next to Alice, Lucas is here to serve as our interpreter today. Kim gave Lucas a courteous greeting, but Alice saw a flicker of... His eyes were full of curiosity. Is Mr. Lucas fluent in Korean? Lucas responded in flawless Korean. Kim responded in the same language with a smile that was obviously impressed. Alice was unable to comprehend a word, but it was clear to her that they were having fun. What was it he said? She spoke to Lucas in a whisper. He gave a compliment. My Korean, and inquired as to how I acquired it. I told him that a few years ago. I studied in Seoul. Officially, the meeting started. Alice provided the Parker Group's financial data, growth strategies, and profit forecasts. She was genuinely impressed by Lucas, though. He interpreted rather than merely translated. When Alice said something that could be interpreted as being too forceful for Lucas softened Korean culture. When the investors inquired about technical inquiries, he clarified concepts Alice hadn't even considered. They are worried about the ROI of the initial year. After a brief conversation between the Koreans, Lucas translated. However, additionally, they are interested in the company's social responsibility. They place equal importance on that, as they do on profit. Alice turned to face Lucas, taken aback. Nothing about social responsibility had been prepared by her. Inform them that the Parker Group is creating a program for sustainability. She made it up as she went. Alice saw that when Lucas addressed the investors, he said more than she had indicated. "What did you say specifically?" "I stated that you're dedicated to creating a strong social responsibility program, and that you would appreciate their suggestions on how to carry it out in a way that is suitable for Asian culture." "Marketplace. Wonderful." Alice believed he had taken advantage of her lack of planning for cooperation. The meeting lasted for 3 hours. Alice observed Lucas with increasing respect. He was able to read between the lines, identify hesitation, and recommend tactical pauses. It resembled observing an orchestra being led by a conductor. Kim Jung stood up with a contented smile as the meeting finally came to an end. "Miss Parker was quite impressed with both your interpreter and your company." In Korean, he said something to Lucas. "Lucas, what did he say now?" was his succinct response, praising our cooperation. Kim gave her a firm handshake and remarked, "It's rare to see such good harmony between a CEO and an interpreter. We'll have an answer in 48 hours, but I can say things look very positive." Alice fell into a chair after the Koreans had departed. "Lucas, you were truly remarkable. You also performed admirably. We're entirely spontaneous. If it weren't for you, the meaning would have been translated in addition to the words. That's what interpreters are useful." Impressed, Alice turned to face him. "Lucas, no. You are translated by interpreters. You bargained. People are read by you. For me, you essentially sealed the deal." Lucas averted his gaze, uneasy about the praise. "I simply drew on some prior knowledge." "What kind of experience?" "From Gene Company." "Yes, I studied how to bargain with Asians for 5 years. My dad always said, 'I understand. Culture is more significant than numerical knowledge.'" Alice rose and approached him. "Lucas, are you understand what has just transpired? We got a good bargain. You reverted to your previous identity as the heir, the mediator, the entrepreneur, and it was stunning to observe." Lucas scowled. "I don't, Alice, wish to return to that way of life. I have no desire to return to the business world." "Why not? You're very intelligent." "At it." Alice hesitated. "Because business tore my family apart. However, Lucas, you simply helped me get a deal worth $15 million. I couldn't even communicate with 3 men, but you understood. You are a part of that. I'd prefer to keep that part hidden." Alice took a step forward. "What if burying it wasn't necessary? What if you could put those abilities to use? For a good cause?" "By what do you mean?" "Lucas, cooperate with me." He gave her a look, taken aback. "What?" "Serve as my advisor for growing in Asia. You are familiar with the cultures, comprehend the nuances, and speak the languages. That's the kind of person I need. Consider it, Alice. You could make use of all your expertise and experience to create jobs, not destroy things, and to build bridges rather than take advantage of people." Lucas trembled. His head. "I am unable to. You don't have to use if I return to the business world and my name appears once more." "John's name. It's okay to be Lucas Wam. My family has contacts everywhere. Asia. I'll be recognized." "What does that mean?" "You've grown up. You are free to make your own decisions. Life." Lucas approached the window. "Alice, you don't get it. My father will attempt to find me if he discovers where I am. To return me. And what could he do if I resisted? You are now self-sufficient. He could harm my loved ones the way he did Daniel." Alice got cold. "By what do you mean?" "Daniel did not take his life solely due to familial pressure." "What else happened, Alice?" "Alice, it's better if you don't know, Lucas. The father is a strong man, and strong men guard their secrets. If he discovers that I'm still alive and employed at the corporate world once more, he might pursue me as well. That's right. Alice was silent for a moment, taking it all in. Look at me, Lucas. He pivoted. Do you feel scared? Of your family, or fearful of reverting to your former self? Both. However, today it was lovely, and you were the man you once were in that room. Instead of taking, you helped by using your knowledge. Benefit. Instead of burning bridges, you built them. What if I enjoy it? What if I begin to long for that realm? And if you do, wouldn't that be awful? Lucas met her gaze. If it meant losing, it would be you. Alice took a step forward. How come you would lose me? Since if I return to that, I won't be your typical massage therapist. World. The billionaire heir who turned down the opportunity will be me. Everything. Additionally, you might prefer to have the heir. Alice took his face in hers, softly. Lucas Wong or Lucas Zhang. The man who had the guts to refuse my money won my heart. The man who made the decision to heal with his hands. The man whose principles cost him a fortune. What happens if I alter? Lucas, everyone is different. The true question is whether you want to change with me or on your own. For a long time, they gazed at one another. Alice. Please give it some thought. You don't have to make a decision right now, but consider the opportunity to utilize every aspect of who you are. You. For a positive reason. Alice's phone rang at that very moment. Julia was the one. Mr. Kim just called. Parker. As we discussed, they wish to proceed with $15 million. They want to sign the contracts for tomorrow. Glistening. Alice hung up. Have you heard that? We succeeded. Lucas grinned, but his face had a dejected expression. Well done. You are deserving of it. We are worthy of it. I never might have succeeded without you. Let's celebrate, Alice. Champagne, dinner, and conversation regarding the future. Lucas paused about that. I believe I need a little time to consider everything, including your work, about my identity and aspirations, not what being with you entails. Alice experienced a constriction in her chest. Are you abandoning me? No, I'm just taking a small step back to ensure that I make the right decision for the right reasons. For what length of time? I'm not sure. A week or a few days? Alice. I tried not to show how much it hurt as I nodded. Okay, but Lucas. Indeed. Simply keep this in mind. You weren't the fugitive heir today. You were the one who saved both my company and me today. Lucas took her hand and gave it a soft kiss. You're incredible, Alice Parker, and I hope I have the courage to deserve you. He left the room, leaving Alice by herself, with $15 million in his contracts and a crushed heart. Outside, Lucas paused in the corridor, taking a deep breath while leaning against the wall. Breath. He felt like the real Lucas James for the first time in 3 years. And he was more frightened by that, but it also gave him a sense of life again. The question was, did he have the bravery to survive? Alice didn't hear from Lucas for 5 days. Felt like 5 years. She made an effort to concentrate on her job, the agreements with the Koreans. On Friday afternoon, she was signing documents, but her thoughts kept returning to him despite the endless meetings. Mrs. Parker, someone is here to see you. If it's about a meeting, reschedule for Monday. He says it's urgent and personal. Alice sighed. Who is it? Ricardo Mendoza. Her ex-fiancé. Ricardo Mendoza, whom she left 2 years ago, made Alice's blood run cold. She sent him up years ago after learning that he was more interested in her money than in her. A short while later, Alice, sweetheart, Ricardo entered the office wearing the smile that she used to find endearing, but now recognized as being entirely fake. You still look stunning. What do you want, Ricardo? You're direct, and I've always appreciated that. I have no time for games. Ricardo crossed his legs as if he owned the chair across from her desk. Location. I've heard you've been hanging out with some fascinating people. Alice squinted. What are you saying? How are you, my love? Lucas Wang, the massage therapist. Alice clenched her jaw. You've gone viral on the internet. CEO embarrassed by poor massage therapist. Kind of hard to miss. Fists. I'm here to defend you, so if you're here to make fun of me, keep me safe. What? Ricardo took out his phone and showed Alice a picture of Lucas, but it was an old one, wearing a pricey. Do you recognize him? Alice glanced at him. It was wearing a suit at a fancy party. Younger, smiling, and standing with people she didn't know. Definitely. Lucas, I have contacts, my love, and they told me some really fascinating things. I know. Where did you get this? What things about your boyfriend who works as a massage therapist? Ricardo put the phone away. Lucas Huangjiang, the owner's son of Jian Wei Ming, leaned forward in his chair. Of Jiang Corporation, with a fortune of $4 billion. Alice pretended to be surprised? That's absurd, isn't it? Then why is he a massage therapist? Therapist? Why does he conceal his last name, even if it's true? Why does he live in a small studio apartment? Ricardo chuckled. Alice, you're too intelligent to be naive. A billionaire. Why would he give up everything to become a massage therapist just for fun? Because he killed someone. The floor dropped beneath Alice's feet. What? Daniel Zhang, his brother, discovered dead in a Bangkok hotel 3 years ago. Although it was officially determined to be a suicide, there are rumors that it was murder. Ricardo took a folder out of his briefcase and said, These are news. Am I lying? Articles from that era. Naturally, they are all in Chinese, but I can have them translated. He distributed newspapers and printed documents across the table. The Zhang family laments the death of their youngest member. The heir of the Zhang Corporation was discovered dead in Bangkok. Jian Wei Ming refutes reports of family strife. Alice examined the documents, but the words didn't seem to fit. Perhaps most intriguingly, Ricardo continued, 3 days after his Lucas vanished and left no trace after his brother passed away, according to the family. He had a mental breakdown, but innocent people don't vanish in that manner, Alice. Instead, people vanish when they have a secret. Alice stood up and moved to the window. What do you want, Ricardo? I want to keep you safe from a con artist. Alice, consider this. A billionaire heir appears in your life under the guise of impoverished. He enchants you with his unassuming demeanor and makes you feel unique because he doesn't want your money, even though he actually has far more money than you do. Alice turned to look at him. And what's he tricked you into falling in love, getting married, and then, well, accidents occur, particularly to those who are overly knowledgeable about suspicious deaths. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Has Lucas ever revealed? Alice paused. You about his brother? Lucas had told her, but not in the specifics Ricardo was implying. Has he ever given an explanation for his actual disappearance? Why does a man with the world's best education now work with his hands? I want you to go, Ricardo. I've always loved you, Alice. You cheated on me. I know our relationship ended badly, but it was an error and a sign of weakness. Didn't alter my feelings for you. Ricardo got up and approached her. Alice, please leave my office so I can protect you and help you discover the truth about Lucas before it's too late. Get out, Alice. Ricardo raised his hands in surrender. All right, but consider what... He picked up the papers and walked away, saying, and when you find out I was right, you know where to find me. For those who only read the comments, let's play a little game where Alice is by herself with her doubts. Type Coca-Cola in the comments. Only those who have read this far will comprehend. Let's carry on with the tale. That evening, Alice was unable to sleep. She looked at the ceiling, reviewing all of her conversations with Lucas, wondering if he had ever told lies. Had he overlooked something crucial? Daniel didn't simply commit suicide due to pressure from his family, Alice. Lucas explained it as, because my father threatened him. But what if Ricardo was on the other side? Alice had to see Lucas, look him in the eye, and ask him questions when she made the decision to visit the spa on Saturday morning. She got to Lotus Flower at 9 a.m. with the seeds that Ricardo had planted in her mind. Marika was at the front desk. "What a surprise, Mrs. Parker. Do you want to set up a session?" "I have to speak with Lucas." "Oh." Marika paused. "What do you mean?" "Lucas called on Monday to say he needed a few days off. He left no indication of when he would return." Alice's stomach churned. Did he say anything? Did he leave a message? "No," he simply said. Marika hesitated. "What did he say?" "He mentioned that he might not return." Alice drove to the tiny apartment where Lucas lived, after leaving the spa with a heavy heart, thinking perhaps it was for the best. Lived. She asked the neighbor after repeatedly ringing the doorbell and getting no response. "It's been days since I last saw that young man from 304 downstairs, but I heard Wednesday night. Alice heard a lot of movement and hurried to the 3rd floor, where the apartment door was unlocked. Inside, it was completely deserted, as though no one had ever been there. There, she sat on the chilly apartment floor and sobbed for the first time in years. Upon returning home, an envelope bearing her name in handwriting that she instantly recognized was waiting at her door. One piece of paper with a single sentence on it was inside. "When you trust the silence, I'll come back. Lucas." Alice ran after the letter, smoothed it out, and read it after regretting her decision to crumple it and toss it far. Trust the silence. What did that mean? She thought about it all Sunday. Trust the silence. Refrain from listening to others. Believe what hasn't been said, and don't believe rumors. Ricardo called Alice on Monday and said, "I heard your boyfriend vanished. How are you aware of that?" "Sweetheart, I have eyes all over town. Would you like to know where he went?" Alice was torn between wanting to follow the letter's advice and wanting to know. "Are you there, Alice? I'm here, and I can tell you who he is." Alice glanced at the crumpled letter on her table and said, "He really is. You just have to let me." "When you trust the silence, Ricardo. Yes, I'll be back. Don't call me again." She hung up. For the first time in weeks, Alice ate dinner by herself that evening, and the food tasted bland. The house felt larger and emptier, but she had decided to trust Lucas despite not knowing where he was. She would trust the silence. He was, despite not knowing why he left, and despite all the doubts Ricardo had sowed, because in his heart, she was aware of something Ricardo was unaware of. Lucas had shed tears when discussing his brother, and she was familiar with his hands. She knew he treated her as if she were the most valuable thing in the world, and she shuddered when he spoke of his family. Pretenders don't look like that, cry like that, or shake like that. Lucas would return. When he was prepared, when he was aware of his identity and desires, and she would be waiting with trust above all else, whether or not there was silence. Alice was leaving the office on Thursday, a week after Lucas vanished, when her phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, Mrs. Parker. Is the Parker Group reception desk. A man downstairs says he has an urgent conversation with you." "Who is—" "His name is Chen," he says. Alice grinned for the first time in a week. Send him up. Chen walked into Alice's office wearing the most somber expression she had ever seen on him. He looked worried, and there was no fatherly kindness in his smile. Mr. Chen? What a surprise. Thank you for seeing me, Mrs. Parker. Would you please take a seat? I have a very specific reason for coming here. Would you like some coffee? Water? No, thank you. Alice tried to read his expression as she sat behind her desk. Is it about Lucas? Yes. Chen informed me that you discussed his past and the Jiang family, and that you are his uncle. Nodded. Mrs. Parker, I came because something is going on that might have an impact on both you and Lucas. Alice felt cold. What was it? My brother-in-law, Jean Wei Ming, called me yesterday. Lucas's father? He is aware of Lucas's existence and his location. Alice leaned forward in her chair. How did he learn about it? Someone approached him with images, details, and information about... This is Lucas's life. You know this guy, Ricardo, Alice muttered. He's my... Last week, his ex-fiancée arrived here with information about Lucas and stated that he wanted. Chen shook his head, obviously concerned, saying, Mrs. Parker, you don't understand. John Wei Ming isn't just a rich businessman. How can I put it? A man who finds solutions to problems in the end. Are you implying that he's dangerous? I mean, he gets what he wants, no matter what. Alice stood up and went to the window. What does he want? Lucas is returned to take control of the business. Lucas is now the only heir after the death of his eldest son, but he doesn't want to return. What Lucas wants has never Jean Wei Ming found it important. Alice turned to Chen. Lucas is now hiding. He vanished once more after learning that his father was aware of his whereabouts. Chen sighed. Why didn't he come to me? Because he's attempting to keep you safe, Mrs. Parker. He is aware that his father will use me as leverage if he learns about the two of you. Yes, exactly. Alice took a seat again and tried to take it all in. Chen, I need more information. What happened to Daniel? Lucas gave me his account, but Lucas's account is accurate. Daniel actually committed suicide as a result of... Chen hesitated. Family pressure, and another reason. What other reason? Alice believed that his father wanted him to work in a legal business and marry a woman for convenience. How could he harm his own son? Daniel had turned into an issue. He was posing queries, questioning the established procedures, and threatening to reveal specific companies. Practices. Jiang Wei Ming concluded that making the challenging son marry would make it simpler to get rid of him and participate in his dubious business transactions. My God, Daniel was enraged, and he felt trapped by all the pressure, saw no way out, and took his own life. Alice put her hands over her mouth, and Lucas is aware of this. Why did he flee? He was aware that confronting his father would put him under similar pressure. Why are you only... Lucas asked me not to, so why am I telling you this now? However, I can't let you make decisions without knowing the truth. Danger. After a long period of silence, Alice said, Chen, do you know where Lucas is now? I don't. He said it was better that way, that I couldn't be made to tell if I didn't know. At that moment, Alice's desk phone rang, and it was Julia. Mrs., I apologize for disturbing you, Parker, but there is a situation downstairs. What is it? Men in suits are inquiring about... They claim to be investors, but they appear more like security guards. Alice turned to face Chen. Pale. A black car is parked outside the building, and there are 3 men. After hanging up, Alice turned to Chen and said, Looks like they're here. What do we do? You leave through the garage now. I will remain silent and claim to know nothing. And Lucas? Lucas is alone, just like always. Alice reached for her purse and made her way to the door, but paused. "Chen, tell me why you're helping me. Lucas is in love with you, and I've never seen my nephew in a romantic relationship, so I don't want him around. You hardly know me. To lose that due to his father." Alice grinned in spite of the stress. "Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Parker. If you locate Lucas, let him know he doesn't need to flee." Alice, no longer alone, descended the emergency stairs to the garage, her heart racing so much that she was afraid. She got into her car and drove aimlessly for an hour, checking her rearview mirror so that the men upstairs could hear it. Continuously. She called Julia at a small cafe after she was certain she wasn't being followed. "Are the men still there? About 20 minutes ago, they departed after speaking with Chen." "Is Chen all right?" "He's fine. He advised against anxiety that he would take care of everything." Alice hung up and gazed at her phone. She spent the next 3 days attempting to determine where Lucas might be, looking at hotels, guest houses, inquired with mutual acquaintances, and received no response. On Wednesday, while she was in her office, Julia suddenly, "It's an emergency, Mrs. Parker." "What is it?" "The business? Someone broke into our system. All of our client files, including contracts, financial information, and private data, were compromised." Alice felt the when. "This morning. Clients are calling already. I'm furious. We don't know how this happened, but lawyers warn that we could be facing billion-dollar lawsuits." The IT team as Alice was looking into it when the phone rang, and she picked it up. "Mrs. Parker, this is Kim John from the Korean investors. We've heard about the data breach. How are you, Mr. Kim? We're worried. Regretfully, this influences our choice to invest. I can clarify, Mr. Kim. We apologize, Mrs. Parker, but we are unable to work with a business that has such severe security problems." After he hung up, Alice fell back into her chair. 2 hours later, she got 12 more calls in the same manner. Investors, partners, and clients were terminating agreements, withdrawing funds, and requesting explanations. Julia arrived at 5 p.m. "Once more, Mrs. Parker, we recently got an offer to purchase the business." Alice stared at her incredulously. "What do you mean?" "Xiang International Holdings is an investment group that is willing to purchase Parker Group for 10% more than its market value." Alice felt as though she had been struck in the stomach. "Do you know them, Jiang?" Alice didn't respond. She picked up the proposal and quickly skimmed it. It was generous. Too generous. "Julia, please don't bother me. They want an answer by tomorrow, Mrs. Parker." I said, "Leave me alone." Julia hurried off, and Alice gazed at the offer, knowing full well what was happening. Jiang Wei-ming had orchestrated the leak, the cancellations, the financial crisis, all of which compelled her to sell the business to him. She understood why. It had nothing to do with money. Regarding Lucas. An unknown number rang on her personal phone. "Hi, Alice." "Where are you, Lucas?" "That doesn't matter. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, but my company." I immediately recognized the voice. No. I saw the news. Lucas. Silence on the other end. "Wasn't that your father?" "Alice, I need you to accept his offer." "What?" "Sell the business, take the cash, and never come near me again." "You don't get it, Alice. He'll ruin everything you've worked so hard to achieve until you give in. Then let him try." "I won't." "I am not going to sell to him, Alice." "Lucas, did you hear me? I will not sell, even if it means losing everything. Implies losing everything but you." "Alice, tomorrow at 3 there is an urgent board meeting at your company. I'll be there in the afternoon. How about you? I'll stop running tomorrow. Lucas warns me that fighting is risky, and that you'd prefer to lose everything. I did, and now I'm going to demonstrate that I'd rather take a chance than lose me. He hung up, leaving Alice staring at the phone with hope and fear fighting inside her. Tomorrow, she would discover the true identity of Lucas Zhang, and if he had the courage to confront his own father. Alice arrived at the Parker. At 2:45 p.m., 3 board members and her attorneys were in the group's boardroom. Everyone looked tense. "I have to be direct, Mrs. Parker," said her lead lawyer, Dr. Martinez. "The company has lost 70% of its market value in 3 years as a result of the data breach and mass cancellations, days. I recognize that Chiang International Holdings' offer is our sole feasible alternative at the moment." Alice, seated at the head of the table, said, "And what if I say I don't sell in any situation?" The lawyers exchanged worried glances. "Mr. Parker, with everything, that would be financial suicide, with all due respect." At precisely 3 o'clock, the door opened, and instead of Lucas as Alice had anticipated, a distinguished older man with gray hair and a sharply tailored outfit walked in. Behind him were 2 men in dark suits. "Mrs. Parker." Alice remained calm as the man said, "I'm Jiang Wei-ming," in a light Chinese accent. "Mr. Zhang, I wasn't expecting you in person. I prefer in-person meetings for important business." He sat without I'm assuming you've read our invitation. The other men stood like bodyguards. "Proposal. I have, and the response is no." Jiang Wei-ming smiled icily at Mrs. Parker. "You might not realize how bad things are. Your business is failing. In a week, you'll have no more clients. You won't be able to pay your employees in 2. I'll start over from scratch." "With what?" Alice leaned across the table. "Money. Which investors? Who's going to trust a CEO who couldn't protect sensitive data?" Table. "Let's stop acting, Mr. Kang. You planned this whole thing, didn't you? The cancellations, the leak, the crisis. We both know why you are acting in this way, Mrs. Parker. And those are very serious accusations. Because you want to make your son return home, and because I want to grow my business in this nation. John Wei. My son is dead, Mrs. Parker. He died in an accident 3 years ago." "That's a lie," Ming said, his smile disappearing. Alice's heart was pounding when the door opened again, and Lucas, who wasn't the Lucas she knew, entered the room. He stood tall, wore a perfect suit, exuded confidence, and had a powerful appearance. The room went silent, and Zhang Yiming froze for a second before gathering himself. "Lucas, you've matured." "Hello, Father." "Lucas, you've aged. I thought you were dead, but I'm back after 3 years." Moved to the table and took a seat next to Alice. "Gentlemen," he said to the board members and attorneys in fluent English, then translated, "I'm Lucas Zhen." Jiang Wei-ming narrowed his eyes and said, "I'm here to make a counteroffer, heir to the Jiang Corporation." "Offer? I'll purchase Parker Group myself," Lucas said, taking a folder out of his briefcase, "for 20% more than the market value prior to the crisis you brought about," using what Lucas grinned. "Money? You're a poor massage therapist. I'm heir to 40% of the Chiang Corporation shares. Since you never formally declared me, the shares were never transferred." "Dead." Jiang Ming went pale. "You illegally froze those shares, filed a lawsuit yesterday to unfreeze them." Lucas spread documents out on the table after opening the folder. "Documents. The Chinese courts have released my assets, my identity has been formally restored, and I have enough money to purchase 10 businesses such as the Parker Group." Alice gazed at Lucas in disbelief. "He was no longer the uncertain Lucas," said John Wayne in a hushed tone. "Was a massage therapist. He was the billionaire heir he had always been." "You don't know what you're doing, but I do. I'm stopping and preserving the company of the woman I love." Janeway Ming looked like the woman you love, preventing you from ruining another innocent life. Lucas, look at Alice with contempt. Like everyone else, she just wants your money. Alice stood up and said, "Actually, I fell in love with him when I thought he had nothing. When I thought he was just a how convenient poor massage therapist." Alice cut in. "Mr. Zhang, I offered your son when we first met. He declined $1 million. I then offered him $10 million, but he declined again. Do you know why?" Tang Wei chose to use his hands instead of responding. "He's the most honest man I've ever met. Lucas chose humility over power, love over retaliation, and healing over money as a means of controlling others." Grasped Alice's hand. "I'm choosing to fight instead of run," Lucas said. "Lucas, if you do this, if you buy that company, you'll be declaring war on me." Changing Ning abruptly stood up. "I'm announcing my independence, Father. You don't know what I'm capable of, but I do. I witnessed what you did to Daniel. Like you, Daniel was weak, and like me, he was sensitive." The distinction is Alice squeezed Lucas's hand and said, "Mr. Zhang, I found someone who gives me the strength to be who I really am." Stated, "I'm selling my business to Lucas Zhang for, and I accept your son's offer." "Alice will continue to be the majority partner," Lucas continued. Jiang Wei Ming looked furiously pacing back and forth between the two. "You don't know who you're playing with." "Oh, we do know," Lucas said, getting up to his feet. "We are opposing a man who crushes honesty and prioritizes business over even his own children. Businesses only to obtain what he desires. A man who misinterprets fear for deference." Lucas went on, his voice steady but not angry. "But Father, we're also confronting a man who, when I was 5 years old, took me fishing and taught me the value of family." John Wemming's eyes unexpectedly filled with tears when my mother passed away. That man is still somewhere within you, and when he's prepared to speak to his son once more, without coercion, threats, or authority, I'll be here. Lucas walked to the door, then stopped. "Oh, and give back, Father. The funds you embezzled from Alice's customer via that hack, or I'll take it directly to the federal authorities." Wei Ming appeared suddenly very old and exhausted as she stood motionless in the center of the room. "How did you find out about the money?" "Since Chen informed me of your strategies, and I know you, Chen. My brother-in-law has always been faithful to you," Jiang Wei Ming muttered. "He is faithful to family, real family, not based on fear." Jiang Wei Ming turned to Alice and asked, "Are you Miss Parker? Are you sure of what you're doing? Of course, I'm marrying a man who is worth more than all of your money put together." Alice blushed as Lucas gave her a startled look. Well, assuming Lucas dropped the briefcase, knelt down in the meeting room, and said, "You're going to ask me." Taking a tiny box out of his pocket, he said, "Alice Parker, will you marry me? Knowing I'll use my fortune to build, not destroy. Being aware that I will occasionally still want to work as a massage therapist because it makes me think of the man I selected to be. Being aware that we will have to manage a complex family." Alice chuckled. Yes, 1,000 times, yeah." Lucas put the ring on through her tears, her finger, and gave her a kiss in front of his father, the advisors, and the attorneys. When they eventually pulled, Jiang Wei Ming had returned to his seat and was gazing at the documents on the table. "The ring?" Silently, he said, "It was your mother's." "I understand," Lucas said. "Chen handed it to me, saying she would prefer that it go to the woman who reminded me of genuinely matters." Jane Wei Ming gave a small nod while continuing to gaze at the table. "I know she would be proud of you, Lucas, and perhaps one day you will be as well." 2 months later, Alice and Lucas were. Chen was the best man at the wedding, which took place on a remote, quiet beach with no crowds or entertainment, just the sound of the waves, a sunset, and two individuals who unexpectedly crossed paths with one another. Alice Lucas was barefoot in the sand, wearing a light suit and a simple dress. He was also barefoot. When the pastor asked them if they had anything to say to one another during the ceremony, Lucas, Alice Parker, you taught me that the greatest money isn't luxury in life. It's being loved exactly as you are by someone. I swear to touch with my hands. You with compassion each and every day of our existence. Additionally, I pledge to use my money to improve the world, even if it's only a little, as you instructed me. With tears of joy, Alice answered, Lucas John, you taught me that genuine power comes from having the guts to say yes to what's right and no to what's wrong. Genuine. I swear not to attempt to purchase love ever again, since I already have the only love that really counts. As the sun completely set, they shared a kiss while Chen applauded, and a few friends hurling rose petals. The following day, Lucas and Alice declared the establishment of the Parker Jang Foundation, which aims to support homeless youth and encourage moral business conduct. And out of love, not obligation, not money, Lucas would massage Alice's feet every night before she went to sleep. Jiang Wei-ming never attempted to get in touch with them again, and Alice at last realized that some things really have no price. However, a gift of a cherry tree planted in their new home's garden, along with a card, arrived 6 months after the wedding. It said only, "For shade and blossoms, a father who is learning." Lucas planted the tree himself, and occasionally Alice would see him conversing with it when no one else was around. What did you think if he were speaking to his father? After all, some types of love are worthy of another chance. Of Alice and Lucas's tale? Let us know what you think in the comments section. Find out your score by subscribing to our channel and turning the story from 0 to 10. To follow all of our stories, click the notification bell, and remember to watch. Here on the last screen are more heartwarming tales.